Hey guys, what's up? It's Lainey, and today I thought I'd go a little bit more in depth of my current outlining process. So I've mentioned this now a couple times here on my channel about my new outlining process that I've done for my Witch Pirate book that I did for NaNoWriMo, Pair of Prides, as well as my rewrite of Sharp Hollows. When it comes to outlining, I do it. I like to kind of test the waters. I'm totally okay with changing up my outlining routine with every new project. I thought I'd do a video on this outlining process because this is the first outlining process that I have done where I've done it more than once. It works for me a lot. I see myself doing this outlining process in the future as well for the next project. I've talked briefly about how my outlining process has changed over the years in my writing processes video, then and now. I'll link that up above here that you guys can check out. What I currently do with my outlining, I go through and I write out the overall arc of what I feel like the story is going to be. I don't like calling it an actual outline because this is more of a brain dump for me, where I kind of see the beginning of the story, where I kind of see the middle of the story, and kind of where I see the end of the story. Now, I might not always know what my ending will be, but I kind of know where I'm always heading towards for the ending. I only focus on the big overall plot arc of the story. I don't really focus on the inner nuances of the characters' relationships with each other. I don't focus on like any of the subplots, so any of the romance subplots, any of the character subplots, I don't really include in this overall arc. For Sharp Hollows, the overall arc of the story is my main character Rami. She is trying to find this lost city that she thinks will help restore her family name because her dad tried finding it years before she was born and really crashed and burned on it. The whole family is kind of ostracized from their society because of this failed expedition. She's hoping that she finds this lost city. That is the overall arc. I'm going through her plot arc, the beginning, the middle, and the end. That is just the brain dump of it, but it helps when you're breaking it down into the 3-act structure, which is what I've been working through for these past 2 projects. I actually have footage of me doing the first part of this in my Write With Me number 3, I believe, when I started to plan out my rewrite of Sharp Hollows. So I'll put it kind of right here. You can see me writing down my overall thoughts of what I want this new version of it to be. And then I also have the part where I start outlining the actual nitty-gritty of it. So you finished the overall arc of the story. You have your beginning, middle, the end. You know what story you want to tell. Now it's breaking it down even further into acts. So you can have as many acts as you want. I brought it down to the 3-act structure. It's easy for me to work off of. You can find a lot of material on the 3-act structure through YouTube, through Google. You can do that. I always focus my acts on every act should end on my main character making a decision that changes the course of the story. That's what I do. I don't exactly work backwards, but when I start with my outlining, I know already how that act is going to end. So I already know the decision that each of my characters are making that changes the course of the story. This is the notebook that I've been using, or the notepad, Padfolio, whatever. I got this at TJ Maxx. I love that store. I take out the legal pad that I use to write everything in, and not exactly show you, because that's going to be a lot of the story, but at least kind of show you the overall kind of what is going on. You can see here that this is my overall thoughts of where I want to see the story to go. So it is quite long. I'm still getting through. I also put some world building things, or some canon backstory in here. I'm changing it from version 1 to version 2, so I want to make sure my brain is always on the same page of what I'm currently writing. And yeah, so this is this is my entire brain dump of the overall story. Often I will talk to myself and I'll answer my own questions in writing. It's more stream of conscious for this part. Yeah, I think, yep. So that was it for that. Then I sit down, I'm ready to write the first act. This is definitely more detailed. I'm usually going chapter by chapter. Each bullet point kind of signifies a chapter, but I might split up one paragraph into 2 chapters. This is just the chronological order of the act. This is my act 1, and so this one wasn't very long at all. So what I do is I outline the entire first act, and then I write it. And then after I finish writing it, then I move on to outlining the second act, going off of the notes that I already previously wrote for my overall brain dump of the story. Some people might think this confines you. That's definitely not the case. I think I leave enough room for myself to explore different options, or I might find better ways to get out that specific beat of the story. So I finished Act 1. Act 2. Act 2 is the middle of the story, the dreaded middle of the story. This one is just this page as well as another, again, half of this page. But I predict when I write out the third act that it will be a lot longer in my outlining, just because there's a lot of other things that you need to do, including the climax and the resolution and wrapping up all of the storylines that you started. So I wanted to give a kind of an example of I don't really know what I'm gonna do yet with this part of the story. So there is a part where I'm introducing a new character. This is also a side note that I wanted to mention, but I tend to come up with side characters on the fly. I don't really go that much into them before I start writing them. I really like that organically because in Pair of Prides, which is my pirate book, the two side characters that I kind of just like came up with ended up being kind of like low-key my favorite characters to write because I was not expecting to like them that much, and I kind of just came up with them as I was writing the scene. So for this one, I named him Captain because I didn't really come up with a name yet when I was outlining it, but I knew I needed that type of character in this part of the book. And I wrote, will the captain come with the group? I'm not sure, but we'll see how it goes when I'm writing it. Spoiler alert, I ended up really liking that character that I created because I've already created him, I've already started writing him, I'm really digging him. So he's gonna be coming along in the journey with the other group. I leave a lot of threads open when I'm outlining, just so that I'm allowing myself to explore different options when I actually start to type it all up. This type of outlining has really helped me. It's definitely broken down the huge task of writing an entire book down into like 3 small chunks. When I've outlined in the past, I have outlined from the beginning to the end, and that is very daunting because even when I'm writing somewhere in the first half, I'm like, oh man, I have so much more to write. But bringing it down into 3 chunks definitely minimizes that daunting task. It also keeps me focused. After I write one of the acts, I can just stop and think about it, plan out everything that I want to see again. Also, it helps with when I am writing the act, the first or the second act, I tend to think of a lot of different ideas for when the future acts. So that really helps with my creativity because I don't feel confined to the overall arc, because the overall arc is just where I plan to end the story. Definitely not saying you need to do this outlining. You might not even be an outliner, but for me, this has really helped organize myself. It also helps me with my goals. My goal is to finish that act so that I can plan out the next one. It keeps me excited. That's also a very important thing when you're writing, is to keep things exciting, not just with your writing, but for you personally. That's it for my current outlining process. I really enjoy it. How do you guys outline? I'd really like to know. Maybe you don't outline, and I'm very envious of people that don't at least have an idea of what to do, because every time I've tried to do that, I've always ran out of ideas and then I quit the story. Hope you guys all enjoyed this video. My name is Lainey. I make videos every Monday and Friday on books and writing, and I hope you guys all have a really great day. Bye!